Hey everyone, Brian with you from TheGameCommon. We're playing some more Planet Coaster, continuing with our Forest Hills Park, and today we work on making the temple a little more pretty, and honestly, I'm not quite sure what else we get to in this episode, because I've recorded a whole bunch because I've been really kind of like feeling really good and creative recently, so it's like, I've just been like recording a whole bunch, and I have to say, I am really excited about the next couple episodes. So, here we're just kind of working on the entrance, just trying to close off some of the hills. I actually don't, or some of the holes rather. I actually don't get to the other side until like 3 episodes from now, which is kind of hilarious. But yeah, we end up tweaking the roller coaster on both ends eventually, just, you know, so it goes in through the door straight. And then really here, I just start digging out a hole because eventually the goal is to kind of build some pits in there and to do some traps and stuff like that. Also, we had a bank going on and I wasn't too happy with that, so I kind of wanted to get rid of the bank as well. One of the things we end up doing here as well is just start tweaking the outside of the pyramid just to make it look good. I actually think that's mostly what we do in this episode now that I think about it, just trying to make it look a little bit more realistic. So first things first, we got to do something here with the bottom just to make it look right. Now I end up using these archways as kind of like a roof because once again, remember there's no roof in the game. So and then I ended up taking the steps we had pre-built and just kind of used them over here, and I think it worked out really well. And then we did rocks just because I think the rocks make a little more sense. But once again, it's like, since I don't have any roof, what better way to actually kind of get that brick stone than to use something like what we had going on. So here we just start adding some, basically we just start going through a lot of the random stuff, just kind of figuring out what everything is and then just slowly start adding it. So one of the coolest things I think about this is the fact that you can actually do a bunch of different statues, and they have a bunch of like pre-built body parts that you can actually add in and make statues out of. So we could have done some really crazy things here. I end up using the skull head, which I really like, but you have a lot of blank heads, and then you could kind of make like a lizard or something like that. I mean, you can see we kind of had like the lizard feet going on, so part of me was like, maybe I should do a lizard head and like a, you know, lizard tongue and stuff like that, but ultimately I decided just to go against it just because, you know, I don't know, I kind of like the skull. It's kind of like, here's death, and you can see they have a bunch of different mouths as well, which is really cool. We were looking at the giant nose, and I kind of left the tongue there for a little while, but ultimately I ended up removing it because it just looks a little on the ridiculous side, a little too ridiculous. So we end up changing the right arm eventually just because I'm not a huge fan of it. But yeah, we just start slowly adding in things. It's like, oh hey, there's some cool wings, let's throw some wings on this. I'm not quite sure, you know, whoever built this temple here was, you know, worshiping obviously some weird skull mountain lizard god, but hey, whatever. We ended up seeing this, and it was kind of like, eventually I kind of changed it so it's a little more like a whole like walk like an Egyptian, if you remember that from like way freaking back in the day. And then we had some scaffolding because it's like, it feels like they're digging this out, so I was like, it seems to make sense just for us to have some scaffolding kind of popping out over here on the backside, just to, you know, make it feel a little more like it's being excavated. Now there are some animatronics, so we could actually excavate it. I'm not sure if I will actually add in those animatronics though, only because I feel like all the animatronics in the game are a little cartoony, which they kind of once again match. They match the characters in the game, like the people and stuff like that, you know, but we're making this really legit looking roller coaster and temple and everything like that, and I'm like, do I really just want to add some cartoony thing in? I don't know. I feel like it kind of like defeats kind of the purpose of what we're doing here. And so I'm just going through adding and just making sure we got as much stone as possible. And then what do we do next? Oh yeah, we do our snakes. And this is the one thing where I saw in some of the pre-release stuff that you could actually make some snakes. So I kind of debated a little bit about what I wanted to do. I thought about doing the snakes like inside the thing, and then I'm like, you know what, screw this, let's actually make the snake completely legit so you can actually see the entire body. I hope I copy and pasted it. Maybe I didn't, but yeah, and then we basically just kind of have to fit every little piece together. And honestly, it's maybe one of my favorite things about this expansion pack, and I don't know if they did it with some of the other newer expansions, but I mean, it's just really cool how you can kind of build custom things. I mean, obviously when they only give you a snake head, you don't really have a lot of options on what you can build besides a, you know, snake, but still, how you shape the snake is completely up to you because they give you a bunch of different shapes and stuff like that. So even though we did a pretty standard snake shape, we could have gone a little more crazy with it. And I actually noticed on the pre-release material that their snakes actually had like glowing red eyes. And I'm like, well, it's just like a picture. And I was like, what was that? And then I ended up finding, oh, there's actually gems here. And can you color the gems? Yes, you can. Oh my God. And so then at that point, we just kind of started. I mean, if you're going to have like an old temple, you got to have a bunch of gems and stuff like that rolling around everywhere, right? So I added one there. I decided to add one in on his little torch thing because it made sense. Obviously, we needed some in the eyes because, you know, why wouldn't it have eyes? Could actually do fire on him at some point. And then we put the taco in his hand because what giant freaking statue wouldn't have a taco? Okay, I removed the taco because it looked a little ridiculous. But eventually we add in the pizza because, I mean, once again, what giant... Okay, who wouldn't worship a pizza? Like... I know at this point in my life, I'm now dairy-free and gluten-free, so eating a pizza is practically impossible for me at this point. Maybe that's why I want to worship pizza. Oy. Yeah, it's a depressing story, by the way, if you hadn't heard that one. Anywho, so we get the snake kind of how we like it, and then I decided I wanted to put it down a step. I didn't really want the snake up top. I wanted the snake down a level, and then obviously we duplicate it and paste it over here as well because, you know, you got to kind of do some symmetrical thing because ultimately the pizza skull dude is like the main kind of attraction to this place. And so then I decided the top is still a little on the, you know, how should I say, a little empty. So then we ended up adding in these kind of entrance areas, and I kind of start building this out simply because it's like, I feel like you kind of go up there and then there should be something kind of behind it, right? And so that's where we kind of just play around here and start doing some stuff like this, just trying to make it look right. Once again, it's not like we're doing anything spectacular here, just trying to add a little bit of variation and just trying to make it a little, just like a little bit more is going on, which, you know, I think is always a great idea every time you're playing this game. And downside is, once again, we're kind of stuck with the flooring or the roof as it is, but you know, whatever, it is what it is. It is what it is. So then we end up adding in these roofs here, which actually look kind of nice, duplicated, and then we start adding in some of these things just to kind of like mask the roof and then just kind of make it look a little cooler. And then, you know, it's time to do the probably most important thing. If you're going to have some ancient temple, you need to have a source of fire popping out everywhere. You need just fire just going on everywhere. And so we start adding a lot of these cauldrons, which eventually are just going to start housing fire. And obviously, you know, it just looks amazing because anytime you add any special effects, they just look great in this game. Like, that just looks so much better. Just adding a little bit more up top. Now, obviously, there's probably, okay, so if Pizza Dude is, like, up front, at some point, like, you would figure that there's something else. Like, that's not, like, the main object of the worship of the temple, right? There's gotta be something behind it. I don't know, maybe it's, like, a throne? I wonder if we could actually put a throne up there. I mean, we could build one out of the stone, I guarantee you. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just, like, a throne room that we kind of build up there. I didn't really spend any time thinking about this until just now. I love when I'm like literally here providing commentary going, oh yeah, you know what, maybe we should add that because that actually sounds like a great idea. Once again, just adding more sources of fire because, you know, fire is always great. Unfortunately, I couldn't use the really big one, so I got to use a slightly shorter one. And yeah, that looks great. I kind of do like this idea for... then we have this flamethrower just popping out here because, you know, you'll see it at the side. You won't necessarily see it from behind. I do feel like I should add some fire and some flame around the statue more that I look at it. But yeah, I kind of like looking at everything a second time through this because it just kind of gives you a better idea of, hey, we should do a little bit more. So these pieces are kind of annoying because, you know, they're nice squares and you got like 3x3s, you got 1x1s, you got 2x1s. I think there might even be bigger than 3x3s, and so we basically just start throwing them in randomly, just trying to fit some different things in, just trying to get a little bit of shape going on, just because once again we're just trying to do a little bit of variation so it's just not the roof the entire way. Am I a huge fan of this? I mean, I kind of like it. And you'll see what we ultimately ended up doing here, and I kind of like how it turned out. I don't know if I want to do... I would love to spend the time and just, like, do all of the roofs this way, and I mean, that's the thing. We could have just not done the roof and done these instead for the roof, but my gosh, this was hard enough as is, especially to get it a little bit different. So I kind of like the little bit of variation. I should also probably look at duplicating those and putting those around the side. Yeah, we're looking at the animatronics there. And then we start adding some bamboo. Eventually, I go back and add some more flames and stuff like that, especially around where those statues or hieroglyphics or whatever those are there. And then here, we're just adding some foliage because anytime you just see a giant green area, it needs to change. You need to do something with it. And so at this point, we're doing something with it, and that's just these bushes. And so we started going very, very, very tropical. And this whole area down here, we just started turning very tropical. Oh, I actually ran across these things, which I actually really liked as well for just kind of like flame cauldrons. I think that was actually the name of it, was like flame holder or something like that. We've done a good job of actually having everything kind of fit. I was looking at all the special effects here in the adventure pack. We don't really use any of those in outside, but we use those inside the temple here in a couple episodes, and they just start working really, really well. Oh yeah, and we were looking at adding some maybe some cracked temple and stuff like that around the back, but I don't know. Here's the other thing, just because they're excavating it doesn't necessarily mean that this was actually even buried. Maybe that's just how they lived. They just had it like this. Once again, adding a little bit of variation. I could do it on every level, but ultimately I decided just to do it on the bottom and then a couple rows up, just varying things up just a little bit here and there, just trying to make things, you know, just a little more different. And then once again, I think I decided to, yeah, add it right up there, just because you have that one white tile there at the edge and it just didn't really look right in my opinion. So we just kind of, you know, add another little cauldron of fire because why not? Once again, you know, whoever built this was freaking impressive as heck, okay? So now, there were a lot of trees here. We ended up going with, I think, the dead trees over here because, I don't know, you're having this temple and the skull. It kind of felt like we should have, you know, some of the dead trees. We also looked at, like, doing some of the stalactites or I think they're stalactites. I always forget which is which, but I didn't like how they look. We might use those on the inside, specifically in the roller coaster in that giant temple area. Might not be a bad idea to use them in there, but I'm not 100% on that yet. And once again, we just still have too much green here, so we just got to start adding just everything. And those vines are kind of interesting, but they're also a little over the top because it's like, how the heck do they fit in here with everything else? So I don't know. But yeah, I really liking how this thing's starting to look. It's starting to look really, really good. Even this episode, I'm really enjoying how things look, and they start getting really good here in a couple episodes. But yeah, we're almost to the end of this one, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like, comment, let me know what you think. As always, hit the subscribe button, join the game, comment, and show your support. Next episode, I think we start working on our first official track ride, perhaps. And I know in a couple episodes we start getting on the inside of the temple, and that one's going to be fun as well. Yeah, here we're trying to do the vines, but I just don't think I liked how the vines looked. Maybe I kept the vines. Yeah, and we just used those kind of branches there, and I think that kind of worked. Those stars were kind of interesting because it was hard. Like, I wish you could shape them a little more. And then we added some vines here on the, yeah, it kind of makes sense to add some vines over here because it's like there should be some foliage on the temple, just a little bit. With all that other stuff going on, there should be at least some. And then, yeah, just adding another tree over here and then kind of make it look like it's all part of the same branches there. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later.